Philippe Clement might have one trophy to his name at Rangers, but is he the man to lead Rangers to glory and win more trophies in the upcoming seasons? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football, and we are here to ask the question, is Philippe Clement the correct man to lead Rangers to glory? Now, last season was pretty strange. He came in, he was 7 points behind Celtic, he closed the gap, he somehow got Rangers into pole position, but then he just fell apart and he ended up finishing 8 points behind Celtic, so he was actually 1 point worse overall than when he first came in. And like when you got to the end of March, it just didn't look like that. Rangers were favourites to win the title, but shocking results, defeat against Motherwell, defeat against County, drawing against Dundee, losing yet again another Old Firm game. It all went horribly wrong for Rangers, and in the end, what looked like was going to be their title ended up being an easy title in the end for Celtic. So a pretty strange one. He did win the Scottish League Cup, but at the same time, he didn't have to beat Celtic to win that. And when he did have to beat Celtic, he couldn't do it. He lost the Scottish Cup final to Celtic. He also lost every Old Firm game bar one. And even that, he was lucky not to lose it, coming from 2 goals behind to get a free draw. So, you can see positives from Philippe Clement's time at Rangers, but there's also negatives there as well. So let's see. Is he the man to lead Rangers to glory? 60% believe that he will make Rangers successful. 40% believe no, that he needs to go, really, and that Rangers need a better manager. We'll find out this season, I guess. I would not be surprised if Philippe Clement can turn Rangers into a title-winning side. I would also not be surprised if Philippe Clement doesn't see out the end of the season. I think it could go either way. All depends on the transfer window. So, yeah, I would say he had an average season. He did really well to close the gap. He won a Scottish League Cup, but when you think about it, failure to beat Celtic, getting in a winning position in the league, then throwing it away, and losing the cup final, disappointing for Philippe Clement. But you know what, give him a window, let him bring his own players in, and see what the guy can do next season. But let's go through the comments, and I'm not going to read out like 1 million comments about deed clubs or court cases or any shit like that today. So let's go. Terry Boy says, when he loses the first derby match at Celtic Park next season, he's a goner. 0 wins in 5 attempts against Rodgers. #failure. That's what Rangers cannot afford. Rangers need to get off to a good start. Losing the first Old Firm game and then being like already 3, sometimes 5, whatever, 6 points behind Celtic, and you've only played like a handful of games, you can't afford to do that. I think Rangers need to actually get on the front foot for once. They need to make a good start. They need to win the first Old Firm game. They need to put pressure on Celtic, and the first Old Firm game I think is crucial, and normally Celtic win it. Big Ian, well, I say normally they win the first one. Normally they win them all. Big Ian says 54 league titles for £1, I believe. Don't know why. The screen is just freezing there. Screen's failing. Screen's doing a Rangers. Big Ian says 54 titles for £1. Not a bad buy. That's a pretty good bargain, to be fair. Hoosh Flying Horse says, who cares? They'd all be a bunch of losers no matter who the Sevco board put up for more humiliation. Hail, hail. Robert Walker, makes me wonder how many of the Mankey mob, plastic paddies have voted in that poll. Obsessed. The hatred they have for Rangers knows no bounds. How? Because it was a 60-40 split? What if 40% of Rangers fans just genuinely believe that Philippe Clement isn't really the man, and they just don't have a lot of faith that he's going to be the guy to lead Rangers to titles? I think that's perfectly acceptable. If you're a Rangers fan and you're sitting there thinking Clement is not going to be that man that takes Rangers above Celtic and leads Rangers to success, then I can see that reasoning, I can see that thinking. Chief Garay says Jesus Christ, says embarrassing to Scotland and the UK. Francis Healy says next season FC. Ramos says, I said do not, because Phil isn't good enough. I don't think Rangers will be able to give him the players he needs to succeed. That is possible. PK says sacked by Xmas, also possible. Mick Muffer says, what a stupid fucking post. Really, mate? Is this a debate you want to start amongst Rangers fans before the season has even started? 100% lost a subscription, pal. Alright, McMuffer, well, you know what? Go fuck yourself. This isn't a Rangers channel. My brother might be a Rangers fan, but I am certainly fucking not. This is a Scottish football channel. We will put up posts about Scottish football clubs, whether it be Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Aberdeen, Hibernian. If we want to talk about League 1, League 2, Championship, Highland League, Lowland League, mid-tier fucking non-relevant league in Glasgow, we'll talk about it. Any league, man. A league in the Orkney Islands, I don't care, alright? We'll talk about anything. No one's going to come here and dictate what posts we put up or what posts I put up or what teams I want to talk about. I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about, and if people want us to talk about a certain subject, I'm more than happy to do that. But I'm not going to talk about what someone doesn't want to hear, so take your subscription and shove up your fucking arse. How about that? I could buy a subscription for £1, just like someone bought Rangers. It's not a big deal, so yeah. AR says helmet heat must stay. I guess he does have a helmet head. Davey says, no, leave him in charge. I'm loving the suffering. Sean Maxwell says 50-50. Hugh Trodden says, leave Baldy alone, he's doing fine. Hail from the Glasgow Celtic man, Johannesburg, South Africa. William Kelly, the truth is that Celtic must be much stronger next season. The Rangers are a mess of a team. Physicality seems to be their way forward. Lots of big athletic black players, it will be their undoing. You need to be able to play football. They will go backwards. More importantly, Celtic need players who are athletic and able to adapt, not just big and strong. I mean, do Rangers have that many black players that are big and strong? Obviously, you got Sterling in there. I mean, you got Diomande. I mean, maybe they do have a couple. We're linked with who's that? Cordoba, but he's not coming. So I mean, who knows? Craig White says, nah, he needs to stay. He is comedy gold. Lord Henry Wooten says he definitely improved Rangers over where they were when he took over. All these rebuilds cost money, though. I'd expect a lot of departures this summer. Will he be given money, though? That's the question. Will he spend it wisely? That's another question. I mean, it's one thing getting money, but buying the right players is a different story. Look at Michael Beale. He spent a decent amount of money, but he didn't spend it well, so who knows? Kieran says, give him 10 games, see where Rangers end up, sick of all this rebuilding, chopping and changing. Yeah, it's not ideal. If you're changing a manager, like every season, you can't be successful. Look at Hibernian, albeit on a smaller scale, but they constantly go through managers, and they haven't been successful. Aberdeen as well. Since getting rid of Derek McInnes, they've had a pretty large overturn in managers. They haven't been successful. It just doesn't work. You look at Chelsea in the Premier League, constantly go through managers, haven't been successful. If you want to have stability and you want to build success, then you need a manager there. Oh, I get it. Look, managers can underperform, they can get sacked. But when you're overturning managers at a high rate, then I think that's when you've got an issue. So, yeah, is what it is. Wes Cooley says, bring back Beale, I miss the shit he talked. Brian Rodriguez says, history will once again repeat itself, gone before Xmas. Cute Can, she says, I just don't think Clement is suited to Scottish football. He may have been successful in Belgian French football, but this is a unique kind of goldfish bowl here, and only a handful of foreigners get it and succeed as manager of Rangers and Celtic. I don't really count native English speakers in that foreigner category, so Ange, Brennan Rodgers and Steven Gerrard you can leave out. Only really Wim Jansen and Dick Advocat were able to get over here, and Ronnie Dyler. I guess you could say, but that was during the one-horse race era. Celtic in the league with no Rangers in it. Your senile grannies could have been the manager at the time and Celtic would have won the league. Brendan Rodgers already has a foundation of someone else's very successful team. He just needs to add to it, to adjust to it. He has a very fast experience of Scottish football and winning within it. He knows what he wants and needs. Whereas, Jesus fucking Christ, how long is this comment? Whereas Philippe Clement has the foundations of someone else. In fact, several other people's failures of a team. He doesn't only have to add to it, but build upon it. He has to totally demolish and rebuild at the same time as not actually knowing how to, nor has the power or else the will to go. Build that team himself. He rather is leaving that up to another guy to do. Even if he does know what he needs and wants, this other man may disagree or just say no. He may have targets in mind that Clement doesn't want or think is good enough, but this other guy is adamant that they are. It is a really bizarre and chaotic way to try and build a football team. It's different if you have two individuals who have worked together for years. and have a rapport in which one knows the other one's mind inside and out, and is a newly scout for G looking for the types of players the manager would like, then he tells them oh my God. Then he tells him about let's have a look and say yeah or nah. But that's really over the course of a season or several seasons, as the season is ongoing and he already has a winning or challenging team on the park. The scout knows the kind of players the manager likes and may strengthen his squad. OTS, a gradual build, that is not the situation Rangers are in right now. That is the wrong way you go about building a new team from scratch and only have 3 months to do it. You have to fancy your wee continental, I'm assuming, methods to try and look to modern, trying to keep up with football, and Jones down south or on the continent. When you're in Celtic's situation, for example, going for 4 in a row, when you need a handful of players in and out. Right now, what Rangers need is an Alex Ferguson, Graham Souness or Walter Smith who sees the team and knows he wants and needs to build a team. You trust that man and he let him do it. Clement is none of these guys because things are done differently, or he can't do that because of the director of bullshit is ready here and contracted to being the identifier and buyer of players, but because Mr. Clement, the big alpha himself, asked for it. He admitted he was no good at identifying football players, he couldn't build a football team himself, and it was him who asked for somebody else to do it all for him. Not he asked for a specific man he knew and worked with for years before as a team, but just another man generally from anywhere to do his job for him basically. The minute he said that, I know he was a weak man, no confidence in his own abilities, not an alpha, when that's exactly what's been missing at Rangers years and years now. Just because they gave the reins to Michael Beale doesn't mean the method itself was wrong. It was the man himself who was wrong. And Alex Ferguson or Walter in that position would have been right. So you don't change the method, you change the person. It's not rocket science, but this clown showboard went and changed it all. And Clement has, Clement has shown when the going gets tough, he turns into a lunatic, babbling off about bizarre things and making excuses, blaming others, rather than taking responsibility. Shug McHugh says, pipe down, sausage muffler. Pipe down, sausage muncher. Yeah, look, I think Rangers would love an Alex Ferguson or a Walter Smith. Unfortunately, those managers don't really exist anymore. They don't have those options. They had Michael Beale. They decided they didn't want Michael Beale. Now they've got Philippe Clement. Is Philippe Clement good enough? I mean, who knows? Wizard says, who cares about Kojak? CME says, Rangers need to die again. Horrible club. That's not really nice. Biggie Small says, if successful is drawn at home to Celtic, then yes, I say keep him. Quadruple Treble says, 54 unshared titles. Scotland's most successful club. Come on the hoops, hail hail. 54 unshared titles. Didn't Celtic win a... No, well, I suppose Rangers won that shared title, but didn't... Yeah, Celtic won the COVID title. That wasn't really a 100% title. Shouldn't it be like, I don't know, 53.9 titles or something? The fact Rangers signed Liam Kelly is worrying. Wait, is that deal actually official? I don't think the deal has went through yet. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they haven't signed him yet. David Shaw said he's all skint Jers can afford. No way he'll leave until a better offer comes in from a team in Iceland or the Faroes manager post. There's no way they can afford another payoff. The joke that keeps on giving. Hilarity year after year. IB Brock says he needs to be given a proper chance. Beale kept the wrong players and left us with a bunch who'd already passed their prime. He did a lot with very little, and the 3 players he brought in with no real budget were all young with big upsides. Silva was, in the end, disappointing, but he was never a long-term player, and now he's Will's problem. More youth with a smattering of decent experience, 2 years contract max, is what needs doing. I think Clement has done okay in the transfer window, to be fair to him. I think he's done a decent job. User says bang average, just like Brenda. Stubby says he's a proper football manager. That's what the lot need. He'll make them competitive. We need a strong Rangers to push us. So a Celtic fan here wanting a strong Rangers. Interesting. Clario says Rangers need to get Neil Lennon. I would pay to see that. Loxium says McCoist rebuild, Warburton rebuild, Cassina rebuild, Slippy G rebuild, Van Bronckhorst rebuild, Beale rebuild, now the Clement rebuild. The history has taught us one thing: Rangers don't do rebuilds. Well, they did win 55 with Steven Gerrard, and Steven Gerrard was a good Rangers manager, despite the trophy return not being great. 1 out of 9 is very poor, but I still think he was a good manager. He came in, Rangers were competitive under Gerrard. They, even in the 2 seasons where they didn't beat Celtic to the title, they were still competitive, and they were winning Old Firm games, something that they just cannot seem to do now. So Gerrard wasn't a failure, no way. GM says, I think if O'Reilly goes and Celtic don't get a decent keeper and don't improve on Scales and Taylor, we won't be so lucky next season. I know we won the double, but it's still a very poor side without losing an experienced keeper and their best player. And Scotty Boy says, keep him for another 7 years. Let's see if Celtic can do 10 in a row. Can Celtic do 10 in a row? I don't know. I think it's unlikely. To get to 10, to get to 9's difficult. To get to 10, we have not seen it yet. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but we haven't seen it being done yet. We haven't seen it being achieved yet. So who knows? I don't think Celtic are going to do 10 in a row. Will they do 4 in a row? That's the big question. Is Clement going to hand Celtic the keys to title 55? Or can he get Rangers to title 56? We'll find out this season. I think he deserves another chance. I know some people are saying sack him. He only finished 1 point worse off than Rodgers from the time he took over, so he doesn't deserve sacked, but I think he needs to improve, especially in the Old Firm games. Anyway, guys, that's it. Fuck football. Catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.